Welcome everybody, my name is Krush AK and this is the Market Meditations podcast. We chat with fascinating people from around the world to extract mindsets, routines, stories and habits to help you build richer lives. In this episode, we are joined by Saeed, better known as Trader SZ. He's a bit of a legend in the Twitter space. He's been around for a long time, and many of our favorite traders have actually been taught by Trader SZ. In this episode, he shares a lot of what he's learned over his last 8 years of successful trading. He emphasizes the importance of having a strong mindset when trading and also having a good mathematical foundation, while not shying away from sharing the bad times that come with trading as well. Hi, Saeed.
How's it going, Krush?
It's going really well, man. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me on.
For the longest time, I've seen in your profile, if I throw a dog a bone, I don't want to know if it tastes good or not. And this has been pinned there for a while. What does this mean and why is this there?
So that's actually from a movie called Snatch. Guy got ripped up in there. I'm not sure if you watched it. But yeah, I love that quote because I relate to my trading in the sense where I share my analysis, and if you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. Do you know what I mean? Plus, I love the movie Snatch, so I've just had that since the beginning.
Oh, for sure. So it's generally, I'm sharing analysis. If you don't like it, I don't care. Like, no one's forcing you to consume this.
I'll post whatever I want. Yeah.
Did an event inspire this? Did a situation happen that made you want to say this statement for everyone to know?
No, I mean, it wasn't any specific, but sometimes, when you post an idea, I disagree with you. Well, if you disagree, you disagree. It's not as if I know I'm 100% right. You don't know you're 100% right. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, you got your idea, I've got mine. But when you get people, when you post an idea, oh, you're so wrong. Well, how do you know? Do you have 100% guaranteed that you're going to be right? I just don't have that.
As a fellow mathematician, I cannot understand and agree with you more there. Some people do not have the concept of probability understood, which is why I generally advocate everyone learns mathematics before even trying to trade. It just does not make sense. If you do not understand a probability and a ratio, basic high school mathematics, you are not going to be able to successfully trade. It's just close to impossible. You put yourself at such an unnecessary disadvantage. I know you have a maths background, so what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I also did a maths degree like you. Yeah. So everything's probability, and I think it's a big part of trading as well, because you have to realize, even no matter how strong your idea is, it all comes back down to probability. Nothing's 100% probability in the markets. So if you were thinking that term, everything is just a probability. And what do I need to see to increase the probability of the trade idea or decrease? Just accept the fact that it's okay to be wrong. Whereas, you marry a bias and it has to work, and you convince yourself it's going to work. And then you'll go out your way when somebody poses a different idea. You start attacking them just to make yourself feel better. So come back to it's all about probability.
Again, goes back to that initial point of throwing a dog a bone. You can't really explain these probability concepts to absolutely everyone simply because some people don't want to learn it. It's that cognitive dissonance that comes into play, saying, nope, this doesn't fit with my bias, so it can't be true. And just an inability to have a bipolar mindset is something I like to call it, recognizing that there is no black and white. Every opinion is debatable. Few things in this world are absolute. And I find people from mathematical backgrounds like us really do have a solid understanding of that.
Yeah.
With regards to your probability and statistics, how deep do you dive in when you trade?
I use it quite a lot in my trading. I mean, it's not hardcore maths based, even though I've got a maths degree. It's what I've learned. What are the key skill sets I've learned? Your way of thinking. It's all about how you think. So sometimes, you look at a setup, I'll give an example of a trade setup, right? The Bitcoin one I did today, we spoke about, it's what do I need to see to have a high probability? So I usually use a scale of 1 to 5. So I have a setup that's valid, but the probability is not high because of XYZ reason. So that pulls my risk management in. So I say, okay, that's when I scale in. And as each level confirms probability or breaks down, if I'm short, for example, then the probability for that idea increases. So I can put more risk behind that. And as it increases further, I can add my risk. So that way, mentally, for me, I'm building a position, but I'm not going all in at once. So when I see probabilities in my favor, I put my foot on the gas. When probabilities aren't in my favor, I take my foot off. So that thought, that's mindset of thinking. You sort of, because you do maths for so long, you think in a certain way. You're very critical, especially of yourself. Okay, because you're breaking down everything. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. In fact, I'd expand beyond the probability. I don't know if you ever did a decision module.
Yes, in maths, yes.
For the listeners out there, a decision module is very much focused on the structure of logic and can expand into areas such as philosophy, where every argument you make, every thought you make follows this strict logical process. I'd argue even more so than probability, that is what serves people with that mathematical background.
Yeah, I did a couple of decision maths modules. It's each thing I did. It's all training your mind to think in a certain way. Do you know what I mean? And at the same time, it can be a negative as well because people get too much into it in the sense where they everything has to be a certain way, and it comes back down to what we said earlier: be okay with the grey. So pick what works, and be okay with living in the grey as well, because people go to two extremes certain times. Whereas always, when you keep the middle path, you're always open to other ideas. You got your mindset sorted from those skill sets you've learned. But then, yeah, I think I'm waffling on. You know what I mean?
Not at all. It's something I really do try and promote, because maths teachers, when you ask them, why do I need to know algebra, for example? When am I going to need this in real life? Most teachers, because obviously teachers don't get paid much, can't give you an answer like you just did, where the ability to think in probabilities and have a logical mindset is derived from your understanding of algebra, and that'll serve you in life more than any other topic you study, arguably. And talking about these sorts of things certainly isn't waffling. The more we can express the same message in different ways, the more we can get that message out there. I find when I don't study maths, especially since it's been a while since uni for me, it starts to go rusty. So I actually slot in an hour to 30 to 60 minutes a day where I keep the skills sharp. Have you found that at all?
To be honest with you, I haven't looked at any maths since I've left. I'll be honest, you probably asked me some GCSE question, I've probably forgotten. Yeah, but you do get, it's like any skill set, you leave it for a while, you'll get rusty at it, just the way it is. But I think it's, for me personally, it depends what you want to do. But with me, like, I've reached this, for example's sake, in my trading, right? At the beginning stage, you got that fire, you want to learn everything, and you're doing like sleepless nights, this, that, the other. But then when you reach a certain stage, you still have that work ethic, but you can relax more. Do you know what I mean? Because once you reach that certain stage, you're comfy. I reached it where when I reached a certain stage, I was all right. I got very lazy. But I think you need to keep that middle ground, because I don't do none. That's just me personally. It's always good because I know other guys that do it as well. Later in the year they still do maths to keep their mind sharp. I'm just lazy. I'm not gonna lie to say how it is. I'm fine with that. Trading for me takes up all my time, and then after that, my mind's tired. I'm sitting at this charts 12, 14, sometimes 16 hours a day. I don't want to be looking at no maths book, to be honest with you.
If you're looking at the charts that long, I mean, how do you take care of your health?
It has had a big impact on my health. But again, in this environment, for me, I need to be at the chart. I know I have to. So instead of fighting, people say, one thing I don't get is when people say, oh, set and forget and this, that, the other. Go, what? I'm saying from my point of view, I can't do that. I know I've got certain OCDs. Like, I need to know what's happening, especially in this environment where things can change quickly. I'm not just staring at a chart. When I'm at the chart, when I'm not in a trade, I've got my plans ready. I'm studying the market, studying how market condition changes. One thing I do a lot is I notice certain nuances. So while I'm waiting for my plans, there's certain markets I look deeply into, like ES and more this year, Bitcoin, and he studied different behaviors of when something used to work before and when it stopped working, or how do I adjust that. So by me looking at a market and watching that behavior, it's something that works for me. So I need to be there.
You mentioned set and forget isn't something for you. And I find it fascinating how many similarities I end up finding between our ways of approaching the markets simply because of our mathematic background. Also, we got that Asian connection as well, similar upbringing, I'm sure. It just creates a similar mindset. A lot of my early trading learning, I looked at a lot of Cred's materials, and I know he was heavily inspired by you. And I also know that indirectly, I would have gained a lot of things from your style. But something like detecting deviations in the market, that I actually had never seen you do before, but it was something I applied just because of that mathematical mindset. This data is an anomaly.
Exactly. That's good you mentioned that. It all come back down to that bell diagram. Everything goes back to the mean. Just that's where the majority is. But yeah, see with the set and forget thing, one point I wanted to mention was that it's context as well in that sense. Where if you're a macro trader, then okay, in that's all right because you got time for it to unfold. But if I'm short-term swing trading, or short-term day trading, I personally can't do set and forget because that's when my OCD kicks. I need to know what's happening there. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I'm actually the other way round. The reason I try to avoid swing trading and macro trading is because I can't stop myself checking the price and the way my position is going every single day. When I first started, it was easy. I didn't care. Like if I've got a tiny position, it goes up and down, it doesn't matter. But once the size started scaling up, I just want to be done with my position as quickly as possible. So I stick more to the day trading.
Yeah, so I sort of overcome that way in the way I do both. I day trade and I swing trade. So while my swing trades are unfolding, I've got nothing else to do all day. So I day trade. Yeah, because like I've done it before. I've done it, and I enjoy watching it. So if I didn't enjoy it, I wouldn't do day trading or improving my edge or as it is. So I've got my basic blueprint of what I do, but you always have to adapt. So most of my days is used as noticing new nuances. How can I improve when the market cycles change? Each part of the year, each quarterly, you know, each 3 months, I find different price behaves a certain way, and that can only be done when you're spending time on the charts and seeing something repeat again and again and again. But if I was to just tell somebody that, well, I've told you that, and it's gone in one year, come out the other. You have to internalize it. For me, internalizing is watching it unfold in real time, and that sinks the message in better. So it's not just necessarily looking at one chart or look for trading opportunities all day. I don't do that. I have my certain plans, but it's working on that, improving it, working on the probability. What could I have done differently to increase the probability? And it's never ending. It's always, different market has different behavior. So when ES has its own behavior, sterling has its own behavior, euro can have its own behavior, stuff like that.
Absolutely. The subconscious biases you develop as you just spend a hell of a lot of screen time, absolutely invaluable. It's why a lot of newer traders, I recommend that they do manual backtesting and live let the charts unfold. And what this does is it helps you get not real screen time, but supplementary screen time. So you start to get used to the ebbs and flows of whatever you're studying, the patterns, and you just let your subconscious and your discretion start to have some weight and meaning behind it.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, you said you do nothing else with your days, and you're normally too humble to mention this, but I do know you run a very successful, very well-reviewed group where you work with a few traders, and you were mentioning to me earlier how this is quite symbiotic with your trading. Could you talk a little bit about that?
So yeah, I've got a group. So I've been trading for 8.5 years now. So 2013-ish, 2012. Well, it's about 8.5 years. So yeah, I had my group end of 2017. I used to do a lot of YouTube videos. So if you go back to my YouTube channel, you'll see like back from 2013, 2014 days, years of videos. So, then I started a group. I mean, like I said, I know it has like that stigma, doesn't it? Paid group, this, that, the other. And it's true, I can understand that. Especially in crypto today, everybody's got a paid group. But a lot of them, it's more signal services. Like I don't do signals, signal services. I don't believe in personally. The way I
As a mathematician, they make absolutely no sense.
Yeah, I don't. I never do signals. It's more developing. So the way I do things is I'll explain something. Like let's give it a live example. Like when you see me do a review, right, I don't just say that's a support level, that's a resistance. Okay, that's part of it. But why have I got that level? The reasoning behind how do I derive that? How do I get to that conclusion? Like when you're doing a maths exam, right? You can't write the answer. You have to the marks are in deriving it. Getting to the answer. So even if you're wrong, you get the marks for step one, step two. When the examiner can see how you got to that, that's where the marks is. See what I mean? So with this, similarly with this, like when I even see them do a review, it's often some say it's like a teaching session. So when they can realize that I get to X, Y, Z by this process, and then keep repeating that day in, day out, you start seeing, oh, now I can do it myself. So then there's the argument where people say, well, you're sharing your edge, you can do it. That's not the edge. When I explain like that, it's context. The context never going to change. Me explain that, it's never going to change. If it's going to go up, it's going to go up. It's how it gets up. You know what I mean? I think when people say your edge is lost in certain edges, for example, say there's a certain time of day, there's some algo gets really, goes wild at a certain market. And if everybody knows about it, then the edge is lost. You know what I mean? Entry for me, I don't see as entry. Entry for me is just an excuse. Once you draw the context, and that's the most important thing. When you've got the context in mind, then everything else falls into place. So yeah, so going back to that, that's my main aim. So when they see me do it, it's sort of like, I gave a basic blueprint of how I do things and how I believe. It's more like interpreting what the market's saying. And then a lot of people, they don't even trade like me. No two people trade the same. They learn the basics. Everybody needs a basic blueprint. And for some people, it's resonated and they've gone on to like develop their own edge from that. Others, it doesn't. So that's fair enough. Not for everybody. It's like in school, isn't it? You have one teacher, but not everybody's going to get A's, are they? You can't blame the teacher. It's you, what you learn from it. So yeah, I do that. It's more or less that. So how I come up with the ideas, why I've come up with the ideas, and just develop.
You help people accelerate their learning process. You're not selling some secret holy grail strategy or signals that are going to get them rich.
No, there is no secret. Whoever's saying secret is all bullshit. It's all support resistance. It's how I look at support resistance. I look at it in terms of ranges. So now you look on Twitter. I'm not saying I came up with ranges, but the way I use ranges, you can see that a lot. My footprint in most of them, not to brag or anything, but it's just the way it is. Range high, range low, mid range, deviation, certain terminologies. But that's fine. Everybody uses it differently. Me marking out a range means nothing. A monkey can be trained to do that. It's how I use it and in what context it fits in. You see what I mean?
Absolutely. Execution is a completely different game to analysis.
Yeah,
and
that's the thing. A lot of people think people are great traders, especially on crypto Twitter, because they've made a pretty chart. Anybody can do a pretty chart. It comes down to trading is whole complete ball game. The execution part. How do I use that to take the trade? Everybody can be given the same chart. Not everybody's going to trade it the same way.
Without money on the line, I almost feel it's disingenuous to post analysis. Like you don't have to have money on the line there, but you at least have to have the intention of putting money on the line. Otherwise, what weight is there behind what you're saying?
It's true. And often you get caught out anyway. Do you know what I mean? Like I said, you can only keep up something for so long. But if you can't, it's true. It's money on the line as well. But a lot of people just do it for the clout. It's just about clout, isn't it? It's like, we call this. You drew a chart and you drew a line saying up, and that's it. It went up, but you didn't say, okay, where was the entry? You know what I mean? Well, that's a different game. That's just opening kind of worms there.
Yeah, for sure. The genuineness is an interesting point you brought up, simply because nothing you do is sustainable if it's not genuine. What's going to happen is either you have to create and sustain a false persona, which isn't you, that is immensely demanding on your mental energy. You'll start feeling like shit. You'll start developing anxiety. Eventually, it's guaranteed to blow up unless you're an complete, total pathological liar and sociopath, which few people are. So you're not even serving yourself well. Yeah, you might make a quick buck scamming people, but what's the long-term vision?
See, with a lot of them, there's no longevity in them. How many groups have opened in crypto Twitter and then they close after a while? Because after a while, you can't keep that fake in us up. You know what I mean? And people can realize that if there's somebody's joined you, right, and they can't find value, eventually it's going to leave. So your group's going to go down. Everybody can see that. But if you're finding value, you don't need to go around promoting it. It speaks for itself.
Absolutely. I mean, that's why I made the effort to bring up your group, because you don't try and promote it, and I think that's a disservice, because a lot of the less reputable groups promote themselves so much, and by not promoting yours, you're kind of giving them an advantage over you and letting them take up market space.
It comes down to what it is. My money made from trading anyway. I don't need to do that, so that's just a secondary income. I mean, it's a decent income, but it's not my main income. If it was my main soul, then you'll see me marketing it hardcore, sign up, discount. If you're constantly giving that cheapens you. So I'm not doing just to not appear like that. It's just, if you like my stuff, there it is. If you don't like it, you don't like it. And a lot of people just, like we said, don't even know I've got a group. But yeah, it's just my side thing to keep me busy. You know what I mean? But I don't have the motivation to do it for free. It's like anything, initially starting for free. But why should I do it for free? If you're finding value, a small cost doesn't mean much, because if you're finding value, you learn from it, you're benefiting from it. So yeah, that's why I don't do it. It's not my main thing. My main thing is still my own trading. I've been doing it for 8.5 years now. Group's only been there for like just over 2 years.
If you've learnt something in this episode thus far, do consider becoming a subscriber to the Market Meditations newsletter. We send global and macro insights directly to your inbox 3 times a week, and really it's designed to be an aid for traders and investors, just something to help them make better informed decisions.
You're absolutely obsessed with trading, to a point where I've never seen from anyone I've spoken to so far quite the level of passion and attachment to the art, because you're in a position where you don't really need the money anymore. You're just doing it to play the game, and you've fallen in love with it. Is there anything besides trading that comes even close to having this much of your attention or time?
No, not at all. I generally do love the game. It's not just about taking the trade part. It's everything about it. It's always learning something new. That's something I always look forward to. Okay, for example, say when the market's choppy conditions, it is tough for me. I'll be honest about it. You see me too. I've had it tough, but it's a challenge, isn't it? It's like, okay, well, how can I break that down? How can I make it work for me? I accept certain facts that I'm not going to make as much in a optimal market conditions, but how do I break this down? Instead of saying, oh, I'll leave it alone, do I scalp? That's when the edge changes. So I go into short-term trading mode. August for me was more or less short-term. So, stuff like that. I love doing it. So, if you didn't like it, you wouldn't do it. There's a reason why I'm still 12 hours a day minimum at the charts. It's just, you don't realize time goes by. But again, you have to have that passion for it, that purpose. When you really enjoy doing something you don't see as a job, you'll do whatever it takes. You'll go beyond what the normal people have to do.
That is definitely an edge in and of itself. You mentioned you had some tough times, and I detected a bit of quite genuine emotion in that as you said it. Could you share with us a time where trading has gotten really tough for you?
Yeah, I've everybody goes through it. Whoever says it doesn't, they're lying to you. Even the best traders out there. But what they do to deal with it is they trade less. So August for me was a tough time. Even July, we had that big volatility after the COVID thing. And I'm mainly an FX trader. You see, I do crypto more now as well. From this year, I've been doing a lot more crypto. But it's just, my main setups, because I'm a swing trader, the market just wasn't giving me what I wanted to, you see. And even when it did take off, it'll just take off all of a sudden. So I'm missing out. And then the one opportunity I did take off, but it was just so choppy. So before I used to get, lose so much because of that. But it's difficult because it's frustrating. You're human at the end of the day. You're human, and everybody feels emotional. Humans are emotional creatures. So I think now it's come to a stage where I deal with it better. Where okay, I'm in a position where I can step out the market for months on end, and I'll be okay. But it's just not being able to do the normal setup. So it messes up your It's just a test of patience. And, you realize, right, trading, right, once you know the basics, once you've got your basic blueprinting, that ain't really going to change as much. Yes, certain nuances do, but the main stuff doesn't. It's actually a game of discipline. When do you know when to step in, and when do you know when to step out? And if you only take the ones that are optimal, eventually you look back at it, months down the line, your equity curve is going to grow. But you'll find that when you were desperate to always step in, and that's when you get messed up with your equity curve. So in that sense, where it's just fighting myself, it's a constant battle. There's so many trades I want to take, but I know it's that battle. It's a mental battle. Most of it's just a mental battle for me, staying out of the market when what I want to see is not there. So it just frustrates. I find it frustrating. So I do other things to fight that, to keep my mind off things. If that makes sense.
Referring back to something you said earlier, you mentioned how there are times where you lose your obsession for trading. If, say, those times coincide with a time where, well, trading isn't going well, you need to take a break from the market. Have you ever lost the passion and needed to reignite it?
No, I do lose it. I get burnout. It burns me out. When markets started, I just feel burnout because I start overthinking and stuff like that. So what I do is I just move to another market. So I use that as motivation. Say, okay, you know what? This market's not working. There's always something else that is. But if you're just trading one market and that one market is not, so it's taken me years to even come up with this simple thing, move to a different market. That's why I enjoy crypto a lot. So when FX is down, then I shift away. I say, okay, instead of going through all that emotion and getting frustrated, this market's rubbish and it's untradeable. Well, the market's not wrong. It's just going through a consolidation phase, which every single market does. There's times where Bitcoin for me is because I mainly trade Bitcoin, and Ethereum. It's not clear, but then FX will be clear. So just being open to okay, forget that. You just tackle things better as you mature as a trader. Instead of complaining is not going to do nothing. It's just venting out. You just look weak. Say, okay, these are the facts. You accept it. Shouting about it ain't going to make a difference. How do I deal with it? I deal with it with either not trading that market and stepping back. And if you're the type that can't, I know I'm not going to stop trading. So I'll go to something else that is cleaner. And there's loads of markets out there. I sometimes trade bonds if that's clean to me at the time. If my main markets aren't, there's everything, loads of stuff. So that's how I deal with it.
That's quite interesting. I wonder if you ever will encounter a point where the passion fades and needs to be somehow reignited, or what path would be taken after that?
So far, it hasn't. So I'm going to be honest with you. I can't give you a straight answer. That so far, it's still there. It hasn't gone. It hasn't faded.
8 years in, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it hasn't gone once. I mean, I have my difficult times, but that doesn't mean the passion's gone. The passion's there by me proving, by me going to another market that is working. But yeah, while it's still there, gonna keep going full throttle. And when it goes, we'll have a talk about it at the time.
Now, a topic I, in advance, wanted to ask you about, but judging by your obsession with trading, I have developed a theory about it. So I know you're an advocate for fasting. Yeah. Now, is that simply because you get too caught up in the charts and this means you don't have to eat, or are there other reasons behind it?
Part of it. That's part of it, yeah. So obviously I fast during Ramadan, so that's normal. I've realized, right, I'm fasting, my trading performance is better. It's just I think clearer. On a full stomach and eating, I don't function well when I'm eating too much. But when I'm fasting, my performance better. That's what I come back to journaling. I used to journal it. I say, there's a correlation between me fasting and my training performance. Fasting, everybody knows the health benefits of fasting, but especially your mental clarity. But yeah, so yeah, fasting is, especially my health, it's helped a lot as well. So it's got my health benefits. It helps with my trading, so that motivates me to fast.
Yeah, I fully agree with you. Recently, work has gotten quite joyfully intense to the point where I've got quite a strong background in fitness. So I used to, and still try to, do the 4 to 6 meals a day, spread that protein intake, optimize protein muscle synthesis and all that. But it takes so much time And when you're trying to get every single hour out of the day, eating even 3 meals, let alone 6 meals, that's a lot of productivity time gone.
But then again, you're an athlete, so that's like you have to do that. Me, I'm not. I'm no athlete, far from it. So
I also know you're a fan of keto as well. Correct me if I'm wrong, but is that also to do with the screen time and the low appetite? It's just easier to sustain a clear mindset?
So what it was, right? I've this chronic condition, right? And I've had a few surgeries for it, and I have a problem with my wounds don't heal. When I cut out the carbs and when I've been on carnivore diet, my wounds healed, and cutting out carbs and high protein diets. So it's just it started off with by it helped my condition. That's the main reason. So and since then, then you just naturally research it more. Okay, it's helping my condition. That's the main reason, and then I feel a lot better. So when I'm in ketosis, I function better. I'm not lazy. Sometimes in the morning I can't be bothered to get up to trade. When on keto, you just jump up. So it's just once you're feeling better, you stick to what makes you feel better. And my optimal is when I'm on a carnivore diet. I don't care what others say. Oh, this is bad, that's bad. Okay, that's your opinion. This is what works for me. Everything works differently for everybody. Everybody's bodies are different. When I cut the carbs out and when I'm on a keto or carnivore diet, that's when I function best and when I feel best. So why would I not do what makes me feel good?
I'm always fascinated by anecdotal evidence of how people are doing on certain diets, because I'm not sure how aware you are, but nutritional science is really, really weak. There are so many variables, and we have so little understanding of so many different chemicals that interact with our body. Most people just know about the basic macronutrients and micronutrients. They don't know that there are a ton of other factors, like plants, for example, have certain chemicals in them which are generally used to repel humans, and they repel anything that eats them, and they put our bodies under stress, and that stress, for example, is immensely beneficial. And when people try to give, again, we come back to the absolute opinions. Don't give absolute opinions on topics that are entirely gray area, and personal experience is your best data, because there are too many variables to try to come up with anything else.
It's true, because like at one point, I'm no expert, far from it, but it's like, if you say you shouldn't have carbs, but somebody that's got a that doesn't move around much and sit at a desk all day, maybe less carbs is better for him. Or somebody that's working out, is more active, he can make that adding carbs work for him. Do you know what I mean? So I'm not expert, but my basic understanding. So I think everybody's different.
Well, I'd like to support your basic understanding in the yes, absolutely. When I have when work gets crazy and my workouts aren't intense, or I can't fit in my cardio sessions for the days and I'm only doing more anaerobic stuff, I don't want any carbs. I literally just want like salmon, avocado, steaks, foods like that. And on the topic of lifestyle factors, what other stuff optimizes you to pull out these crazy working hours?
It's taken me a while to come up with that. Like first couple of years trading, my health's gone down because of trading. I'm not gonna lie, it is what it is. I can see that I have initially put on a lot of weight, and it's just mental fog and constantly feeling stressed out, and it just head feels better. It's taken me years to find a balance, but I do things now that I know I don't fight it. I know this is how I'm gonna be. Okay, I'm gonna be obsessed, and I am gonna sit at the charts for hours on end. But how can I manage it better? So like on weekends, what I gotta do something that switches me off. Certain things. I don't enjoy watching. I do watch certain programs, but it doesn't switch me off. I'm always thinking about the market. So I do stuff like horse riding. Some people may laugh at it, but when I'm doing that, it's so therapeutic. I find it. It completely takes my mind off things. So I do more and more things. So what do I need to do to make me switch off? Like gym obviously helps, but anything I can do, or walking about, in the country somewhere, that really helps. So I find the balance there, stuff like that. I gotta do something that makes me switch off instead of somebody telling me you should do this. You gotta do what works for you. This works for me. So the thing, I've come to a better balance. Weekdays, nobody's talking to me. You know what I mean? But my Saturday, Sunday, that's my complete switch off. So before, even on the weekends, I used to always be on the charts then. But now I'm coming to more of a balance. But I'm not perfect. I'm still obsessed, but it's just something that works for me for now till, maybe in time it's a better solution, but this is just it for me.
I'm absolutely trying to transition to that point myself where I can just, you need that time off. It's not even lazy. It's because you can't sustain it for 10, 20 years if you don't.
I was like that nonstop for that first 3-4 years, and I put on so much weight, and my health completely went down the shithole. And that's why I developed these chronic conditions. This was a big part of it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So now I'm getting out of it now. It shows how obsessed I am.
Yeah, man. I messed myself up because for a while I had an edge where it was on the 5-minute time frame, and this was actually 2018. For some reason, I was able to hit EOS, and this is what actually grew my Twitter account. I was able to hit EOS with like a 95% hit rate. So whenever I'd go to bed, I was just missing thousands of dollars. So what I did was I set up alerts in the middle of the night, and for months I was waking up 5 to 6 times in the middle of the night to go trade the charts. Because I knew this sort of edge wasn't sustainable. I knew it was going to fade. I knew it wouldn't stay this insane. And a year and a half of insomnia is what followed.
See, coming back to that point, right? I was like that as well. But I knew that I needed to switch off and do other things to take my mind off things. But then but you still won't do it. So I need a motivation to make me do that. So then I found, right, it's impacting my trading, because if you're not taking care of yourself outside of trading, your trading is going to suffer. You see what I mean? So when I wake up and I'm sluggish, I know that's because I haven't worked out. I'll be sitting all day eating rubbish. But when I do a bit of workout or, some sort of exercise at least, and when I eat clean, my performance is better. Having that better performance was my motivator to say, okay, I'm going to do that now. Whereas if it wasn't improving my trading, I wouldn't be doing it, I'm just being honest. But what's it called? When it had a positive impact on my trading, that I'll do it anyway because I know it's going to improve my trading. So it comes back down to that. When you can see the improvement, you'll naturally want to do it yourself. So that played a big role, and it's taken years for me to develop that. But yeah, that's what motivates me to take a break.
That's some serious alpha right there. It all comes back to mindset. I almost try to avoid talking about it because it's got a bad connotation. Because anyone can talk about mindset, but
yeah,
it's so easy to say hustle, think hard, think and grow rich, but it honestly, truly does come down to that. Because I wanted to interrupt you. See, mindset is a massive thing. How you think about it. For example, say you're in a long right now and it's approaching resistance, and you still want to hold. You become a bit irrational because you're thinking of massive targets. But if you switch your mindset in a sense where, okay, that's a resistance level. Like profit taking people, a lot of people ask, how do I take profits? And that's something I struggled with for ages. So the shifting a mindset and say, okay, if that's a resistance level and you've been long from the bottom, what do you need to see to take the short at resistance, right? And you say XYZ trigger. Well, if you get the short trigger, that's take profit on the long then. Does you see what I mean? So change the mindset from that's just resistance to, hang on a minute, I've just got a short trigger, then you can just take profit from the long you took. It's a basic thing, but thinking it from the opposite angle instead of feeling that FOMO, of I gotta hold it. But yeah, carry on. Just sidetrack there. No, but feel free to interrupt me with your incredible alpha anytime. I could not agree more. The mindset side is you got to be careful who you listen to with regards to it. Make sure the person you're listening to, there's data to show that he is successful. Therefore, the information he's giving you has backing. Everyone can share theory. Everyone can share a chart. But if they haven't traded that, there's no data behind what they're saying. If like you put up a chart, if you're not actually trading that, there's no weight behind your opinion, and that really applies to anything. So you've got to be careful who you listen to.
See, even in that, right, somebody can show you, you can watch them trade and they'll be taking profitable trades. But that doesn't mean you can replicate it either. Do you see what I mean? I think the key for me was taking what made sense to me. So a lot of people, they try copy try to be a replica of somebody else. But that guy, he knows when to step in. He knows the nuances. He knows the inside out. So you can't ever copy. So, but if you take what works, like some of the guys that I help out, they're on the end of my trades a lot of the time. They've taken what they've understood and what resonates with them. You know, so even if I show profitability, then that does not mean he can replicate that. But he'll be able to create his own niche by taking what works. And once he internalizes it, then so even that's showing that, yeah, if you understand the point I'm trying to make.
Absolutely. I think you'll like this question here. Have you ever had a student that's ended up becoming what you would consider a better trader than you?
Yeah, I've had there's a few traders that are but I'm not even all that, to be honest with you. I make it work for myself. You know what I mean? There's a lot of things that I could do to improve, but yeah, I've had guys that got really aggressive and but really good at it, much better than me. Lots. I don't think I'm all that. I'm decent enough, but yeah, there's much better traders that I've helped out, I've worked with, that I know personally, way better. But again, everybody's different. You know what I mean? Everybody's unique. So I don't try, say, oh shit, he's better than me. What the heck? No, everybody's on their own journey. The moment you start comparing yourself, that sort of like can hinder you because I want to be like that. Sort of like you're focusing more on that then. Whereas if you've got like I'm in a position where I don't care about anybody else's opinion. You rarely see me ask somebody, "What's your take?" If you do see me take, it's either a good mate of mine, where or I'm probably counter-trading them. But yeah, I think it's important, especially if you're new. Don't try to compare yourself, because the moment you start comparing yourself, you're just hindering yourself. You're trying to compete with them. Everybody's on their own journey. But yeah, back to the question you asked. Yeah, I've had quite a few. Way better than me.
Absolutely applaud and love your